Today we're going to be talking about something that is a little bit different to what I usually would do. And that's because what we're about to look at is something so serious and so mind-blowing that I couldn't not talk about it. We're going to be taking a trip over to Korea to talk about a group of YouTubers who were extorting a mukbang YouTuber who was also being forced to upload by her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, this one's going to be a bit wild. And I promise it does have a happy ending, but I do just want to give a quick warning that some of the topics that we're going to be talking about today are a little bit sensitive. So if you think that might be something that you might not want to hear, then by all means, please give this video a miss. We're going to be specifically looking at a 40-minute stream by YouTuber tzuyang, which is obviously in Korean, but I've got a loose translation and I'm going to summarize as much as I possibly can for you guys. So tzuyang is a Korean mukbang YouTuber who has over 10 million subscribers. And if you know mukbang, you will probably have seen at least one of her videos. My fiance knew who she was straight away, but I had absolutely no clue, and even still, I think I've seen at least one of these videos. But for the last 4 years, she's been posting videos like this, where she eats a 5.5 kilogram bowl of noodle soup. And also videos like this, where she eats 35,000 calories worth of beef intestine. I mean, how does someone even do that? 35,000 calories is 18 days worth of food. Now, we could keep talking about the crazy amounts of food that she's able to eat, but sadly we do have to get serious. With a stream from 7 days ago that would have surprised even the #1 tzuyang fans, and that exposed these YouTubers for extorting her and then her ex-boyfriend for forcing her into work. And as I said before, it's a 40-minute stream, so I'm not going to be able to talk about every single little detail. It's also in Korean, so there might be some translation issues, but if I do miss any key details or there's something that you think I got wrong due to translation, then please just put it in the comments down below and I'll make sure it gets highlighted. So the stream starts with her saying that she hasn't written a script, but she's got some notes that she's jotted down in case she gets emotional and starts forgetting things. She also references a video that was posted prior to this by the Garo Sero Institute, which is the reason for why she had to do this live stream. So she starts by talking about how she got into YouTube in the first place. And says that she took a leave of absence from school, which in the UK we would call that a gap year, but I don't actually know what you guys would call that in America, because I had a quick Google and turns out you guys don't take gap years. So she took a year off school is basically what happened. And during this time is when she met her now ex-boyfriend. tzuyang then says that the relationship was going well for the most part, but over time he slowly became more and more violent and ended up forcing her to work in a bar that he also worked at. Apparently it was a rundown bar in a not so good area and she was forced to pour drinks and wasn't even paid any money for it. He took all the money that she was supposed to get for that job. tzuyang says that anytime she would speak about leaving, he would immediately become violent and even at one point threatened to reveal to her parents where she was working. Mind you, all of this is happening before she even started her YouTube channel. The channel actually came about because she wanted to get away from this bar, but her boyfriend was angry at the fact that he wouldn't be able to get money from her anymore, which led her to suggest starting a YouTube channel so she could earn money for him this way, doing something that she at least enjoyed. It's scary how you can see these like 30-minute extracts of people's lives, but you really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And again, of course, like the bar, once that channel started earning money, she didn't see a single penny of it. Even when the channel rose to its immense popularity that it has these days, he founded an agency to manage her channel as well as others, and then forced her to sign a deal splitting all the money she earned 70-30. And I don't think I need to tell you which part she was getting. She even then goes on to joke about how she had such little money that she couldn't even afford to order chicken to eat in the videos. And then at one point in her career, she started to receive criticism for some videos where she had basically done like an advert for some food brands, but hadn't labeled it as an advert. So she then said to her boyfriend that they should probably stop doing videos for the meantime whilst the criticism dies down. But obviously he wanted her to continue because if she stops, then he gets less money, right? But eventually she was able to persuade him to let her take a break for a while everything died down, and that's the reason she took a break on her channel. She mentions that they would even go into her comment section and her community tab and basically pretend to be her talking to fans. When the criticism eventually did die down, he then immediately pressured her back into working. Also, she mentions that she has chat logs for everything, and when I say everything, I mean everything. Her lawyer said in this article that tzuyang's suffering was immense and the evidence is extensive. There are 3,800 audio files containing details of her victimization. 3,800 audio files is such a harrowing thing to hear. Tzuyang then goes on to talk about why she never did anything about it and says that the situation as a whole made her feel weak. So much so that she didn't want to rebel and she just wanted to stick to the script. Other employees at the agency that was holding her hostage eventually found out about what was going on and wanted to help her. They said that they would help her file a lawsuit, but because of the state she was in, she refused the help. Once her boyfriend found out about what the employees had done, he turned his wrath onto them. He told them that he would basically fire them by putting a stop to all of their work and taking away their source of income. Then later, when he came into the office, he smashed all of their cameras and all of their monitors. Tzuyang mentions how this made her feel a great shame and sadness inside because she felt like what had happened to those employees was her fault. This then gave her boyfriend a new source of confidence because he became more belligerent not only to her, but also to the employees. He would openly shout and swear at people. He would harass Tzuyang in front of everybody. She mentions one time where he even hit her in front of staff. He would go around to different members of the industry and slander her, making them think that she was weak. And this turned into more and more evil people coming to her and threatening her and trying to extort her for more money, which she thinks totals to about 200 million won or $150,000. I don't know the type of people that he was talking to about this, but if your response is to go to the victim after hearing this and say, "Give me money or I'm telling everyone," then you're fucked in the head. I'm sorry, but you are just fucked in the head. Now, I'm unsure of the structure of the agency, and that'll make sense in a second because I'm going to be talking about employees that I don't know if worked for the agency or if they worked directly for her. But she says her employees, talking about the people that helped her with her channel, became like her family. They were people that made her feel safe and did absolutely everything they possibly could to help her during this situation. This support then gave her the willpower to go to her boyfriend and plead with him to leave her alone. Even at one point offering him all the money she had, everything she owns. She said, "Take everything, just leave me alone, please." So not only would he have had the egregious 70% split that he had taken from her, she was now offering everything else just to leave her alone. But of course, as I'm sure you can quite easily figure out, he refused. And in fact, he actually said to her that the only reason she has become such a big YouTuber is because of him. I really can't understand how that thought even crosses his mind, but then again, at the same time, I can't understand how anything he has done so far in this story has happened. Like, how do these actions and thoughts come into your mind and then you do them? How do you inflict this sort of pain on another human being? And the effect that must have on you to be told by the person who is causing you so much pain that you're only as successful as you are because of them is enough to break your spirit. But this is where the story turns, because that is not what happened to Tzuyang. In fact, she was able to summon enough courage to completely cut ties with her boyfriend. Even knowing what he had been like for the last 4 years, knowing how violent he had become, and knowing how controlling he wanted to be, with the help of her employees, she was able to cut him off, which is something that you have to be so strong in that moment to be able to do. This obviously then enraged her boyfriend, who started showing up at her house, showing up at her employee's house, even threatening her family members. He even went to Korean drama YouTubers and used the influence that he had only because he was associated with her to start spreading lies and rumors about her. And this is when she was able to launch a slander lawsuit against him for everything that had happened. So I think this now is about early last year when they're going through all the lawsuit and the court proceedings, during which she had no idea about the threats she was receiving from her boyfriend and other Korean YouTubers who were trying to extort her for more money because her employees were handling everything and keeping it from her. Which Tzuyang then goes on to praise them and thank them for for being the people they are and treating her as though she was part of their families. And she gets a bit deep and a bit emotional and starts talking about how the entire time everything was going on, she didn't want to step out of line and try and rebel against him because she feared that her employees would be the ones that would get hurt. She said that she didn't mind being threatened and she didn't mind being hit because it meant that her employees still had their job. I think that is just so unbelievably sad. She then leaves the room with tears down her t-shirt and her lawyers come in to then talk about the court proceedings. Her lawyer then says that it actually took a really long time to convince tzuyang to go through with this lawsuit, and that once she heard the entire story with everything that had happened, she felt as though she was reading a book or watching a movie. They then go through some of the evidence from the case itself and they show it on camera. Things like the chat logs, pictures of her injuries, and even at one point they play some audio from a night where her boyfriend was being very violent. And for obvious reasons, I'm not going to be including that in today's video because it is just absolutely like terrifying. The only way I can describe it is I don't speak Korean, but I was still scared to my core by what was going on in that tape. Now, unfortunately, once she filed the lawsuit against him, her boyfriend actually took the coward's way out and is no longer with us. And I think that's the closest I can say to what I truly feel about him doing that without YouTube getting upset with me. However, of course, he wasn't the only person at fault. There were also the YouTubers who were trying to extort her for money. And even as recently as today, information is still coming out about this case, and in fact, the person who leaked the information to the YouTubers just got exposed. It was reported that tzuyang's ex-boyfriend's legal representative came into contact with the YouTubers while working for B being her ex-boyfriend. So it turns out it was a lawyer from the agency that was holding her hostage that went to these YouTubers and told them all this information. And again, just like I said earlier, I really can't understand the thought process that they had to go through when hearing this information, that they went, okay, I've got all this information about what this person's been going through, I'm going to go to them and say, give me all your money or I'm telling the world. But when they threatened to go public with this information, and in fact, like I said at the start of the video, one channel actually did go live with this information, it forced her to go live and tell her side of the story. Now, those YouTubers actually all posted apologies recently. Not that it, makes up for anything, but I do hope that people realize they really cannot trust these individuals no matter what they say. To come to a victim like this in their time of need and tell them that you're going to expose them if they don't give you money? Just fuck off. Really? Really? No matter how righteous you think your cause might be, to take hush money from the victim puts you on the same side as the perpetrator. This is everything that we know up until this point from what I have found, and I just want to thank the people in the comments of tzuyang's live stream because they were able to translate some parts that I couldn't quite understand and give a summary for us foreigners that really want to know what has happened here. I couldn't believe what I was reading when I found out about this, and I also couldn't believe that nobody has spoken about this in the first place. At least from what I've seen, I haven't seen people talk about it, but that is why I wanted to make this video myself. Now, I'm going to pin some resources in the comments for anyone that feels they might be even just partially affected by the things we've spoken about today. And I know this was a lot more serious than the content you might be used to on this channel, so I promise that the next video will be extra feel good. But that's where I'm going to leave it, so see ya.